Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Women in Sectional Title. My name is Serena de Freitas. I'm going to be standing in for Marina, who's traveling at the moment. And today, obviously, it's our August Women's Month, and we want to welcome all our women in sectional title. And thank you so much. And we hope that you are having a fantastic Women's Month. We'd like to thank our sponsors today, We Connect You and Sectional Title Solutions, for their amazing support. Thank you. And also what we want to encourage members to do, which is especially for managing agents and suppliers, is to sign up as our annual WIST supporters. So you will get your logo on our website, and there will be a button that you can click through that goes to your own website. And please email info@womeninsectionaltitle.co.za for more information and to sign up. Now we'd like to take this opportunity to thank our existing annual WIST supporters on our website. We have TVDM Consultants, Lizanne Rue Maintenance and Management, Harlev Property Management, Kamal Properties, Wakefield's Property Management, Status Mark Property Group, and Intersect Sectional Title Services. So today we are diving into the future of community living, where AI and data are not just buzzwords anymore, and it doesn't stand for accountable institution like it used to. And we now have to discuss the tools. I mean, these are tools. The AI is now a tool that is transforming how we manage and how we connect and how we thrive in sectional title communities. So together with our sponsor today, We Connect You, we want to explore the real world impact of smart technology, unpacking all the opportunities and the challenges and the skills that we need now to lead in this new era. So I would like to introduce Maritza Buerta, the CMS Product Manager of We Connect You, and Elise van Veeren, the Product Owner in the technical team. And just to let you know, those that aren't familiar, We Connect You delivers an advanced end-to-end body corporate and HRA management solution, streamlining compliance, scalability, profitability, and transparency, empowering the property managers to achieve optimal efficiency. We Connect You is transforming the property management industry. I can attest to that. I use it myself. So well done, ladies, and thank you so much for joining us today. So how do you see the current sentiment in the property management industry towards AI?
Thank you, Serena, and good morning to everyone. It is really such an honor, and we're really excited about spending this time with all the women in sectional title. So the integration and adoption for AI in the sectional title property market specifically is still in its early stages if you compare it to the broader property market, like the commercial rental spaces and those kind of areas. But I definitely think there's a growing sentiment of optimism towards the capability that AI will bring for specifically community management. And I think this overarching sentiment is showing a more mature understanding of AI. So typically, the community management space is not known to be the first mover when it comes to tech adoption. But we are seeing that the sentiment is tipping, and whereas a year ago people were definitely it was a trend that no one was really that interested in, but at the moment we're seeing there's a more mature understanding, and we're almost seeing an excitement. We're also seeing a more clear distinction between the forerunners, the leaders, the influencers, and then the laggards, which you'll always get when you have tech or a new tech trend or something like that. A wider disparity between those two. There's people really jumping on the bandwagon, and there's still people that's really skeptical. But the distinction or the vision between the two is definitely becoming wider, and we're seeing both of those ends of the scale moving towards a more mature understanding of AI. And I would generally say just there's hope and excitement in the industry for what it could do. I don't think there's a great understanding yet of specifically what it would be able to do, but definitely almost like a waiting to be amused, and everyone is very ready for AI to help us a little bit. There where we struggle. I think that's what I would say. I see in the industry from a sentiment perspective.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then, in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest opportunity or the challenge that AI can help solve for managing agents in the long run?
So, sure, this
Loaded
is
question.
it's a loaded question, definitely. Because there's so much of AI that it changes constantly, and there's so much money being thrown at this in the world that it's changing every day. So we can say as we know it now, but I looked at when we were prepping for this, when looking at trends again, I took a bit of a 2 month, let's say 2 month, taking my eye off the ball on the AI front, just because of life getting busy. And you would be amazed at what changed. So let's look at it as to how we see it today. But I just want to stress the point. It is something that is evolving so quickly that it's almost crucial that we stay on top of at least some of the trends that's happening, to make sure that whatever we think we're trying to solve, we are aware of the trends and how that can help us solve that challenge. But ultimately, AI really is about data. If you have data, you can solve problems and you can make your life better by utilizing this technology. And if we look at the typical in this industry of community living, community management, there is a vast amount of data. It's probably one of the most data-rich industries if you compare it to other industries. It's just, there's almost no end to the data. Now, the question is, are we capturing that data correctly? And I think we'll chat about that data readiness a little bit later. So maybe let's start by saying, okay, what do we say when we say we've got a lot of data? If we just take some practical things, we've got access data from literally, if you take it in the community first, people entering and leaving. So you'll be able to detect, there'll be trends and stuff on that. How they use the facilities, how they use the pool, all of that is data. Some of it we're not capturing yet, some of it we are capturing. If we then look at typically from the managing agent's perspective, they are the custodian of the data, really. So they are looking at all of your rules, or every offense that's being issued, every levy statement, how your payment profiles are being done, how regular you pay, every minutes to every meeting, financial information. It really is vast. So that is data. So because of that vastness of that, the opportunity really, we believe the opportunity is massive, depending on that data set. So that data set, our positioning today is the managing agent is probably the only person that is responsible in many cases for managing and storing and the official record keeper of that data set. Now, the problem is it's not only the managing agent that needs access to that data. You've got lots of stakeholders. So you've got your owners, you've got your trustees, there's auditors, there's suppliers that needs access to that data, or at least access to the data when they're asking a question. So they need some kind of intelligence to apply the data, and then using the intelligence, to say, okay, how do I answer this question? But even a managing agent, they have access to all this data, but they can't just answer the question. They need to reference the conduct rules, use a bit of intelligence, and then answer the question. So one of the biggest challenges of a managing agent is request for data or just communication, emails, WhatsApps, all of those things. And we believe this positioning of the managing agent towards the data, who is the custodian of the data, they're the record keeper of all of that data, is the biggest challenge that AI can solve. Because if we look at AI in its probably most basic format, it typically is a set of data with a large language model on top of it, which is a bit of intelligence. It gets an input, it uses the data and a bit of intelligence to produce an output, which is very similar to what we are currently doing. A lot of the mundane questions. Can I have a copy of the rule? Can I have a dog? Can I have a levy statement? All of those kind of requests could be handled by AI if the data is structured in the right way. So the access to that data set is really important. So how do I see that? So firstly, let me just answer the question, what is the challenge that it will solve, or the biggest challenge? This is a practical example, communication, but it will and should solve any repetitive, mundane task. Okay, so we should almost have that mindset. So the minute we do repetitive or mundane things, we should ask ourselves, like we usually do, there should be a better way to do this, a more efficient way to do this. We should just throw AI into that mix. Can AI not help me by not doing these mundane things? And what we see will happen then is a new era for managing agents, where data will actually start helping them to actually move up and become more valuable for their clients, the trustees and owners, because now they'll have time for the things that AI will never be able to do, which is relationship building and trust, forming trust relationships and those kind of things. So elevating the relationship between the trustee owners and the managing agent by leveraging the data to actually automate that process of request for data and so forth would be the first step of solving a big challenge in the managing agent's world.
I agree. And I think so much of our time is with mundane, repetitive tasks. So that's amazing. That's amazing. And also, I mean, doesn't that show transparency as well? If there's something that will automatically happen and, you don't have this issue where I saw something on the chat where you had the managing agents that are asked for things, and then the trustees are saying, no, you can't circulate this. If it's automatic and it's in your, prescribed rules that you have to, submit and circulate this information, this is something that should be done anyway. It shouldn't have to go from the managing agents to the trustees to the owners. In the ideal world, it shouldn't have to. And then what skills or digital literacy should women in the industry focus on developing to remain relevant and to also lead with confidence? Because I think that's really what we want to do. Lead with confidence that we know what we're talking about.
I'd like to refer back to what Marita said for this question about the AI landscape and the tech landscape continuously changing. And there's always something new almost every day, every hour, it feels like sometimes. So when you have a landscape like that and you think, okay, I have to ensure that I'm on top of it so I can lead confidently and stay relevant, you easily can feel overwhelmed by what should you actually do, then you do nothing. When I think about what skills you need to continue with this confidently, I like to divide it up in two areas. I think the first is like the more technical skills and to stay relevant, and then the softer skills to lead with the confidence you need. And And on the technical side, you have the factor of data readiness, which Marita mentioned. And it's about understanding how data works, ensuring your data is clear and concise and structured well, so that when you do plug a tool or AI or whatever you want to use, any tech, into your data, the results is usable. It's not inconsistent. It's actually something you can present with confidence. Along with that comes this new area of expertise called prompt engineering or prompt literacy, and it's, can you ask AI models and take the correct questions in the correct way so that you can get the correct results? So that's a skill that is now this becoming in high demand, and learning that skill is actually quite easy. There's so many free courses out online that you can use to improve that skill. And I think the last one, which again speaks to the landscape that's constantly changing, is digital adaptability. You need to be comfortable with new tools and know that they'll keep evolving. Otherwise, you'll stay behind. And on the softer side, the adaptability links directly to like a curiosity mindset, leaning into the new way things are being done, the fast-paced world of technology. But along with that is playing with it, implementing in small areas of your life and testing it, and using critical thinking to look at the answers and know, does this make sense? Is this a plausible outcome, and questioning it, because AI can actually still make mistakes even though you don't feel like it can. And along with all of this is the key to getting these tech implemented is change management. If you work with a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders, it's often less about the technology that you want to implement, but more about getting people on board, and then communicating the findings of this tech. So I always say, play around with it. Try all the new tech, vibe coding, agentic thinking, whatever it might be, to get comfortable with it so that you can master the technical skills enough so that you can lead with confidence through technology. And I think that is key to being a confident leader in this landscape.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with you. There's so many free courses out there online. And a lot of us, I think, are very nervous about change or about playing around with it. So I'm one of those people. So I am doing a free online course at the moment, and it's just amazing about all these websites and things they're mentioning, the anthropic.ai, and I'm like, what? I'm
impressed, Serena. I'm impressed.
I know, right?
It's key to like implement it in your everyday life, so you can implement it in your professional life.
I've tried. What are the practical? Because I think that's the main thing. Is I'm learning it because I want to know how I can practically use it as a property manager. What are some sort of can you give us some use cases maybe that you work with?
So I mentioned that you have the forerunners and then the more laggard. Yes.
Can I actually ask that question again? I just want to show something.
Okay, let's do that. So what Serena asked, what are the practical use cases for using AI for property managers in the sectional title context?
There are quite a few practical use cases. For instance, AI can help with predictive maintenance by analyzing data from building systems to predict when certain repairs or maintenance tasks will be needed.
Sorry, how does the predictive maintenance work? Where do the data usually come from?
So predictive maintenance typically relies on data from sensors installed in building systems like HVAC units, elevators, water pumps, and so on. These sensors track metrics like temperature, vibration, pressure, and usage patterns.
That was just a a fun, quick demonstration. It's ChatGPT's voice AI, and I just wanted to show how evolved this technology became. Because if I think back about like AI chatbots and how robotic it sounded, and now I can listen to almost a whole podcast with people, or not people, machines speaking. They worked on the breathing exercise, so it feels like it's an actual person speaking, and the thinking and the reasoning behind what they're saying actually makes a lot of sense. So I just wanted to show the practical use cases becomes more and more prevalent. Imagine someone yesterday in office say, imagine you have a technical or a AI bot leading a meeting for you, going through the agenda. So yeah, sorry, Marita, to interrupt me and my AI bot interrupting you.
No
but-
problem. That's really cool. So, I mean, wow, we got to the office this morning, and so yesterday, while we were prepping for the session, Aliza used one of the tools that we were playing around with, and we threw the entire Sectional Titles Act into this tool, and we said, create a podcast to explain it. Because we've got a new team member who's like an intern with no knowledge of the Sectional Title Act. It was mind-blowing. And then this morning he came back and he said, guys, it's really scary. I could hear them breathe. And we were quite, so it's AI models, 2 AI models talking, and they actually inserted breathing so that it sounds like a human actually doing these talks. So
No, good
that
grief. No.
that is insane. So someone paid millions, if not billions, to get that right, because they realized that the reason why AI voices sounded so robotic was because there were no breathing spaces on the right places. So they spent all that time just inserting if you insert that sound, it sounds like just like a human. So if we link this back, before we go into the practical use cases of what Aliza just said, of what are the skills, and we mentioned short courses, but actually short courses is probably going to evolve as well, because it's very rigid and structured, and you could do all of that by just talking to that model that Aliza just shared. So you could literally go into ChatGPT, and then you just, there's this black little buttons. There's a microphone, and then next to the microphone there's black little lines, and if you leave that in, you'll see the screen will turn, wait a bit, and then it'll turn into like a blue circle with clouds. Now you're in conversation mode with the model. You can interrupt it. It literally feels like you're talking to a person, and you can learn that way. So anything that you are curious about, that you don't know how to deal with, that you need a soundboard, that you need research done on, can be done even in a conversational way if you don't feel like reading all the long things that ChatGPT spits out when you ask him a typed question. So that would be the first practical use case, is getting into the habit of asking the question and engaging with AI in that sense. Like if you had a person in front of you with a lot of knowledge, you would ask additional questions to get a better understanding. And you could do the same with ChatGPT, or I mean, there's so many of them now, but ChatGPT being still the leading one. The main practical use case that we are seeing is drafting communication, using ChatGPT to help you draft communication, because that's really, we do a lot of that in this industry. It's all about relationships and service. So communicating is probably one of the biggest things we do, and it's such an easy thing to do. You know, if you feel like an email could sound short very quickly, but if you type that same email into ChatGPT and just say, just make it softer, or friendlier, or more professional, or whatever the case might be, you'll get a great answer. Now, the red flag here is, I think if you are not careful and you don't get to the hang of prompt engineering, which Aliza mentioned, is the way we ask these models what we want. If you don't get behind the hang of it, it's very easy to see when an email has been ChatGPT'd. And that is not the feeling you want the person on the other end of a stick to get of the conversation. So, but now that's where the prompt engineering comes in. So now, if you see it's this long conversation, make it more concise. Use more basic language. Don't use these elaborative ChatGPT words, you know. And that is really the first very, very practical use case. So ChatGPT as a communication tool would be the first one. The second one would be the educational tool, as we mentioned. So the power is massive. I want to say you should be able to do almost anything. Now, Aliza mentioned vibe coding. Now, vibe coding is a massive trend at the moment. It's where you can, with plain English, give a tool. So I did it because when I lifted my head after 2 months of AI, I realized, sure, there's a lot going on. And the first thing I did is I gave a prompt to a tool to say, I want to build an app for my son who's in grade 1. It must be in Afrikaans. It must help him with math, for basic math for grade 1s, problem solving, as well as pattern recognition. And it must be gamified and fun for a grade 1-year-old. I think it took 15 minutes and I got the app. It gave me the app. And there's a little bit of technicality that you need to know on how to get that deployed and fixed and all, and the maintaining of it is, but you could do anything if you just engage and you have that curiosity to really learn things. Okay, then the other very practical use case is meetings. So a first level is just using it for transcripts and for turning transcripts into meeting minutes. It's very interesting to see that even in this webinar, we've got AI note takers as participants. People that weren't able to attend this webinar, but their AI note taker is in this webinar as we speak. And they will be furnished with a summary of the content afterwards. Now, there's good ones and bad ones and great ones out there, but we will have to play with these things to really see where's the magic and where's the waste of time. The last practical use case is, I think as a business owner, there's so much you can do. It's not necessary anymore to have a Word document with a letterhead for a presentation of any sort. So if you want to go for new business, to get that professionally looking, designed, on brand with your own company, it's very, very simple. Presentations doesn't need to take long anymore, preparing slides, those kind of things. That is also a practical use case. It is as far as websites, slides, videos, podcasts, all of those things in the positioning and marketing from a business owner perspective. There's a lot happening on those fronts as well.
I like what you said about the communication, because I think in property management, conflict starts so many times based on a perceived tone of an email. Yes. I mean, isn't that right? And we'll get an email or we'll send an email because we're busy and we haven't worded it correctly. And people take offense very, very easily and get defensive very easily. 100%. So it is a good tool to use. But like I've seen in the chat, I agree. I mean, care does need to be taken, specifically with people like me that are not very familiar with it. I need to check it. I need to check the facts. So if I'm going to use it for the facts that I'm asking it for, those are things that I need to double check. And I know this because my daughter's studying law, and they're very specific about using AI. You get marked down, you get flagged. I mean, there's AI apps that now are used to detect whether students use AI. 100%. And I actually love it, because actually they've got to use their brains. They can't rely on this now.
100%.
But yeah, and it's just fascinating on the amount of use that you can put in, and you can look up case studies and legal, backup information that you think you've got right and get legal advice. But when you're having a look at it and you're checking it, you've got to realize that checking has to be done, because that legal case was in America, it wasn't in South Africa, so now it isn't going to apply. So especially for the newbies, this is something, yeah, we do have to check, and also letter writing communication. What I do like is using AI meetings, only because I do my own minutes in the meetings. And then afterwards, when I've done my minutes, I check the AI summary to see if I left anything out. But I don't like to use their wording because, as you say, it does look like a bot has been, been doing it, yeah. But,
Yeah, but if we look at, Serena, if you look at what happened to the voice, it sounded like a bot
yes,
4 months ago, and
Yeah.
it doesn't today sound like a bot at all.
Right.
So we will see evolution and enhancement in that area, wherever it still feels like a machine. I mean, they spent all this time giving it feelings and teaching it how to think and reason. It's insane if you ask a question like, let me think about that. It was prompted into the way these models engage with us. It's trying to give the models even emotions, so that we engage with the technology in a way that feels comfortable to us, and so that we can get the most out of it. So it's definitely going to evolve.
yeah. And this whole breathing thing, Elise, when you were having that chat and conversation, I was thinking that this would solve so many problems. I'm thinking of trading my husband in for this person who I think would argue less, you know, and would breathe and give me space to reply. So I'm getting you much more out of this webinar than you all thought. By the way, it's more than sectional type. Okay, so let's talk about predictive maintenance and energy saving systems. That all does sound promising. Do you have any case study of this or an example where this can be used, maybe?
So I think some of the interesting things we've seen is utility readings, where the app that's being used to take a photo of the meter, you actually use AI to verify the validity of that reading straight from the photo. So where if it's a caretaker or someone taking a photo and it's blurred, it will prompt to say it's not, you can't read the reading. It can even immediately say, no, this can't be the reading because last month it was less. You're not at the wrong meter for the wrong unit. You know, that kind of predictor, helping with just making sure that we get the right data into the solution is really, really valuable. And then really helping with exception reporting, because it can handle so much more data. Leak prediction is probably a good trend as well. So accurate reconciliation between your common property water and all the water usage by the respective owners in the scheme. If you have a really, really accurate way of reconciling that using something like AI, you should be able to then go one level up to say, okay, wait, there's a predicted leak here because of a shortfall. Now, I think a lot of people are doing that manually, but technology is doing that in a flash like this now. An interesting quick thing that I spoke to our CTO before the meeting, and he said in Australia, they're using water usage trends to identify houses where they are possibly manufacturing drugs. So, because they use a lot of water for manufacturing drugs, and they are using that in Australia already. So, I mean, it is just the practical use cases for these things are really interesting if we look at it. But yeah, that's the trends I'm seeing.
So that's interesting. So we can use that in body corporate complexes to see who is maybe growing
Some plants.
some plants that shouldn't be grown in exclusive use areas, or maybe, and we just want to know where it is so we can monitor it. In the South African context, obviously we have a lot of infrastructure access is uneven. You know, some places are high-end developments and infrastructure is not a problem. They have that, and then sometimes not. So how do we ensure that these tools are inclusive for all of those types of developments?
I think when it comes to technology and now specifically AI, there's always the worry that, especially in a third world country, the divide deepens. And when I think about that, I often like to look at like global patterns and what happened in the past 20 years. And if I look at AI and the tools that will come from AI, I think it will follow its like the previous predecessors of AI, like the same trajectory. I think it will be a premium and exclusive thing at the beginning, and I think we're past that phase almost already, to something something that became quickly commoditized. So something that, to a sense, can become free. If you think about something like mobile phones or the internet or cloud storage, at the beginning when it was released, it was a premium thing. Not everyone had cell phones, not everyone could access the internet, and not everyone could save their photos in the cloud. And now I think the latest stats for mobile phones in South Africa is about 80 to 90% of people have mobile phones, even in the lower income brackets. And I think about 75% of people have access to internet. So access to things like AI, it's not necessarily a problem. I think the market will do its thing, good competition, continuous open source innovation that gives access to these tools at a very low cost will make it free in the larger ecosystem. If you think about how AI is different from its predecessors, everyone that has WhatsApp can today access Meta's AI model. Everyone that's on Facebook can access, again, Meta's AI model, same for X and Grok. So the accessibility that we currently have compared to previous big technological advancements is quite vast. I think the issue here does not necessarily lie in access and cost, more in education to ensure that everyone knows about these tools. And I think it comes down to education in a lot of things in our country is, do people know about the tools, how to use them correctly? And then the bigger question is, will our government continue to keep at the pace that tech advances? Will the regulatory frameworks update as the tech advances? Will we ensure that there's correct investment in infrastructure like connectivity? So I don't think access and cost will be the bigger problem. I think education and that is where the free courses comes into play. That's where conversations, playing around with it on your phone in WhatsApp comes into play.
I agree with that. Exactly. And then obviously, what are some of the red flags and the common mistakes that we need to avoid when implementing this tech into our sectional title setting?
Well, Serena, you mentioned earlier that maybe this law case doesn't even exist in South Africa, it exists in America. So I think one of the key things that we need to know about tech and AI is it can hallucinate. And hallucinate is literally, as the word says, it makes things up as it goes when it can't find the real facts. So I think that's the biggest red flag. And you'll find it in your personal life when implementing this tech, but also in a sectional title setting when referring to laws and regulatory frameworks. I think when implementing tech in general, not just AI, it's really important to understand what you're trying to solve. It's becoming quite a trend where people are just implementing tech and tools to say that they have implemented AI and they have implemented this new amazing tool without really knowing what pain it's addressing, what problem it's solving. And if you don't know that, then the tech won't stick and it will become an effort and budget waster. I think secondly, there's a risk, as we mentioned earlier as well, of poor data readiness. If your data that you're using in your sectional title in the practical use cases that Maritza mentioned earlier, if your data is not accurate or captured correctly or structured in a way that makes sense for the AI models or the tools, then your outcomes won't be useful and you will lose trust in the tool, and when it could have actually solved great problems due to the way your data is structured, it will become, you will see it as useless or not meeting the needs. And then I mentioned earlier as well in the skills that I think is important, but in a sectional title setting, you have a lot of stakeholders. You have owners, trustees, managing agents, suppliers, and if everyone is not buying into this tool or this AI or this tech that you want to adopt in your setting, then it doesn't matter how good the tool is. If everyone's not on board and following with the journey, people will doubt it, people will question it, and people will likely say it's not necessary and don't understand how powerful it is. And so, yeah, in short, I think it's very important that you know your why, so you actually can implement it accurately. Your data is ready and prepared and structured in such a way that makes sense and is also accurate. I think that's the most important, is accurate data. And then take people with you on the journey when implementing this tool. Don't just implement it without chatting to people and explaining how it works. And then lastly, look out for hallucination. Use that critical thinking hat to question the answers. Know and ask yourself, is this plausible? Is this a correct answer? Does it make sense? Because AI is a tool. It's not necessarily a silver bullet to the answer to all your problems.
Yeah. And I think that being said, people fear that this tech will replace people, that it will replace, for instance, what a property manager does. I know I'm asking this question and I'm half answering it as I'm saying it, because we're dealing with characters and personalities and things that AI could not possibly, problem solve, because that's what we do. We problem solve. But besides that, and I've answered that part myself, but that's from me. What do you say to those that are hesitant about embracing smart solutions?
Sure, yeah, Serena, you said it so well. Tech doesn't replace people, it empowers them. If we think back to accounting software and what that did to accountants, it's actually a good way to look at it. And if you look at that, do we still have accountants? Absolutely. Do they still do the same grunt work that they used to do, when they didn't even have a calculator, or they had to like literally add every number by themselves? No, they don't do it the same way, but they haven't been replaced. Have their world changed significantly? Absolutely. And I think that is it. So that's really the same way of what we're seeing is you won't be replaced, but it's not
going to
stay the same at all. It's not going to stay the same. So this makes me think of so we currently, and one of the places where we're working on AI quite heavily now is supplier invoices. And when you're loading a supplier invoice, for AI to recognize it and to almost like pre-fill all of it, from which ledger should it go to, what's the supplier, what's the body corporate, which scheme, where should be coded, is there budget, that kind of thing. Okay, but now, so in the past they would capture everything. Now they just upload and then AI populates all of it. However, can we now just post that accounting entry without someone checking? No. So that change from being a data capturer to a quality controller, you can do a lot more as a human, but you can't replace the human completely. You can just make them a lot more valuable and a lot more scalable, being able to handle more. That is really the so it's not about, I don't see it replacing people.
No,
but I do think the mindset is embracing it. If we take it back to the accounting example, what happened to accountants that decided, I will not use accounting software? And where are they today? So they are still accountants, but the laggards that did not embrace the technology, where are they today? So it's easy if we look back. It's difficult look ahead. And I think it's very similar. It's going to be very similar. Our roles will be different, but we have to be open to it and stay on top of the trends that we need to.
And I think that's, I mean, in terms of your vision for AI on the We Connect You system, you know, like you say, one of the things is how you can use those invoices.
Yeah.
Just to be the supplier invoices will then automatically be created from the invoice that you supply from the plumber or whatever.
100%. So that would be one use case. The other one is obviously AI minutes, but in general, the first phase of it is to help with admin, to automate routine tasks, and to give just clear dashboards with insights. The thing that excites us more is the ability to utilize forecasting and predictive problems. And that is like the second phase. So if you ask me about the vision, that is really it. Currently, we're working on solving routine things and making it more efficient. But the long run, being able to have a business consultant agent for every business owner, where you can ask that agent, AI agent, to help you with what should you do with your business, use it as a soundboard, that kind of thing. So I think that the predictiveness of and forecasting abilities is definitely where the vision is going for the We Connect You solution. Serena, you just muted.
Oh, sorry, I was saying thank you. I was saying we're almost out of time, but I'm hoping at this stage, if anybody's got any questions, you know, if you're happy to stay on a few more minutes, we can take some questions.
100%. I saw a question when we started, and it was about it was a slippery slope question of who owns the data. But let me have a stab at it to say, okay, so firstly, that is a real question that we should answer for ourselves, not us to you and us to the listeners. It should be a question that is asked and clarified when you engage with someone like the managing agent. So if you appoint a third party to store, manage, run, do any kind of service, there's always data relating to that. And the data relationship should be determined in the standard, the service level agreement. So from from a solution, tech solution, the person that is your client usually owns the data, but the relationship between that client, which is the managing agent, and their client should be determined by a service level agreement. So that's where POPIA and all of those things come in, just clearly stating, saying, okay, where is the lines of data ownership? So for a self-managed community, typically that would be that the data is owned by the scheme because it's their data, and the trustees on behalf of all the owners work with that data. But the minute you appoint a third party to do and store that manage, it's really important to say, okay, what happens when this relationship terminates? Who gets the data and what data do I get? So the Act says they need to give you records, but records and data is a different thing. So records is literally just the financial statements, the list of owners, but there's nothing, for example, forcing anyone to give you the history of owners for the last, say, 5 years and how they changed, but that's valuable data. So there's something to be said in how we contract and making sure that we understand who owns data and what is data and defining data when we engage in service level agreements.
Were there any other questions that anyone wanted to ask before we close? No? So thank you so much, Maritza and Elise, for such an informative and interesting session. I must say, I have learned a lot. I am going to continue to to learn, because I must do this online course. I think everybody must look for these free online courses. It's really interesting. And this whole conversation and relationship I'm going to be having with ChatGPT is, I will let you know how
How it ends out.
it's
Thanks,
going,
Serena.
yes. But if you can cook, then it's even better, you know. But
Yeah,
anyway, thanks so
absolutely.
much. Yeah. Thanks
Wash
to
the
We
dishes.
Connect and Sectional Title Solutions for sponsoring WIST. And until next time, next month, you'll all be seeing Marina again. We want to wish all our WISTers a fabulous month ahead. And as my aunt always told me, well, my 88-year-old aunt, she always says, when I'm stressed, stay strong, stay calm, and stay positive. Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you for joining. Yes, this recording will be on the Women in Sectional Title website, and I think it is also sent to everybody after the meeting as well. Thanks, everybody, and take care. Bye-bye.